So our first full padded practice this week, we'll get a couple more in. Red zone, 2 minute, a lot of situations. Any questions? Yeah, he's going to be fine. Yeah.
You like to throw a lot of real football simulations at these guys. Obviously on Friday, a lot of pressure coming at. How good is that for the offense to do?
Well, the end of that drill you just saw was, the offense needs a field goal. So when you cross the 50, the likelihood that you're going to get pressure, rises, especially when you're defending a field goal. It's really good. You got to think quickly, get to your protections, and be able to handle the pressure and get the ball out.
When you guys go 2 minutes, something that I noticed out there is even when it's a clock stop situation, the offense is still.
Yeah, and I'll control that. Russ likes to get back on, and I'm good with that. Then there's times where I have a list. We have a 2 minute list, and then right beneath it is 2 minute huddle calls. So there are plays that are in the game plan that involve who's out on the field. And if there's a play, I want to get to, I'll say, hey, huddle up. But out here, we just kept the tempo going. But we could do either.
Sean, what was the nature of Elliott Fry's injury, and were you looked to bring in another kicker to compete with Brett Long?
Yeah, with Elliott, it was just a pull. It's nothing significant. And we'll go day to day with where we're at with the kickers. I've said this to you guys before, Brett had a good day today. He's competing with himself because he's got 31 other teams. Now, there's probably 7 teams that have a real kicking battle. And so he's competing with those guys that come out of those clubs. And that doesn't discount us possibly if we wanted to bring in another player in.
How is DJ Jones doing? Is he progressing?
Yeah, he's still in protocol. We'll keep you posted when that changes.
But you think a better idea of how, because you talked about Dulcich in the spring, like the Joker role you've seen in the last few days.
Yeah, so it's a good question. We're not into yet just specific game plan plays that would involve certain players. He's one of those guys that will have packages that are designed. It doesn't mean he gets it, but he'd be certainly a primary. So we're still in installation. Today, we're installing another group of third down plays, another group of red zone plays. So we've already done red zone third down, but not the whole package. So today they got a little bit more red zone, a little bit more third down. And then as we get closer to the season, you'll see us customize a little bit more.
Especially for young guys that are sort of maybe like out the bubble, as we would say, or fighting for a roster spot, how much does coming out of the first game into that next week help them figure out sort of what they're really going to do?
Well, I think it's a good question. I think a lot. They play their first game. We make the corrections, and we're like, hey, this is I said we're in a little bit of a race, especially for those players. We got to see that improvement now, week 2. And a lot of times it's in the kicking game. So there is a sense of urgency for those players.
Coach, the reps,
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the reps between the quarterbacks have been fairly even thus far. Is that something you anticipate continuing, or will there be a point in your mind where Russ starts
Well,
to lunge?
When we get into the season, it changes completely. But right now, the rotation of the quarterbacks matches the rotation of the units, and so a 12-play script would be 4, 4, and 4, 1s, 2s, and 3s, and then, but if we add numbers to that script, but yeah, that'll gradually change after the preseason.
Sean, how much conversation have y'all had with Mike and Ben about leg strength and the kicks you can attempt, your field goals in Denver?
Well, look, we'll get a feel. I mean, he's hitting it well. He's got good leg talent. We always wait for game day, and then before the start of the game, Ben or Mike will tell me, hey, we're 35-yard line this direction, and we're 38 going the other way. Maybe it's a heavy wind, and it's 30 one way, 40. So I'll always know kind of where the yard line is, not only for us then, and then conversely, I'll ask, where is it for the opponent when we're defending? That came up last week. Are they in range yet? And, Ben right away is like, he's got the leg for this. So that's something, we do on a game week, the day of the game. But obviously there's more carry here. And so I don't know what the one field goal was he hit, but I think it was 59. So, we'll just get a feel for how he's hitting it and, what are the conditions.
Sean, you pointed out that the injuries have kind of happened. When you get kind of a run, though, is there anything
I don't think,
you can do to mitigate
yeah,
this?
but I would say this, though. I think the idea that we've had a run, I think, is exaggerated. I don't, if you look around the league and we get the reports, obviously we had a tough one early with Tim. And then the following day or two, we had an ACL. And outside of that, a sports hernia, I think guys are handling the practice well.
Coach, when you compare it to early in your career, what has changed the most about training camp and preseason, whether it's like player nutrition or the schedule or whatever?
Gosh, all of it. In 2006, we couldn't hold training camp, in New Orleans, so we went to Jackson, Mississippi. We were there for 6.5 weeks, and we were pads in the morning, pads in the afternoon. I don't know that we had a nutritionist in 2006. In fact, we didn't. The food was good, but we didn't have a nutritionist. All the recovery things that we have access to today are entirely different. We've always had the cold plunge, and that's always been really good. We'd have, just like these guys will be in the, we didn't have the fancy cold tubs, but we had the garbage cans full of ice water, and everyone utilized those. But I would say the time on the field, the amount of contact, the length of training camp is just like a small start, The meetings installation, that was all the same. But a lot's changed, and not in just one year, but just periodically that you end up, however many years later. And when you look back on it, I tell these, I try not to sound like the father who's talking about how he had to walk to work uphill into the wind, because that sounds a little like, all right, but it's all relative, like the temperature today was great. Yesterday was perfect. It'll get a little warmer tomorrow, but that's all relative. That's just relative to here. And then true heat and humidity, where it's 110 and you're going into, the cooling trucks and tents, that's a whole different deal. So I like the way we're competing. I think these guys are working hard, and we still have a lot ahead of us.
You talked yesterday about some of the younger guys picking it up a little on special teams. Do you use guys like Alex Singleton as an example of 8 years on the path?
Well, anytime, yeah. Look, it's just the way the league is. I think they understand it. The Terrell Davis story is well known, but there's so many of those stories. Like, there's countless Pro Bowl players that started, earning their keep in the kicking game, and so I see us. I think there'll be a good tick up this week with the special teams, especially some of those younger guys that know that, man, these evaluations are important.
What is the usage plan for Javonte Williams against San Francisco, and how's he an update on how he's doing?
Yeah, he's doing well. We'll have a plan. I plan on playing him. We'll see pitch count wise towards the end of the week. We'll be smart, but I do see him getting to play some.
Sean, going back to the recovery, I remember hearing that you were the first in the league to have cryo in the building, and flow tanks and stuff like that. Was that driven by you or your medical or kind of
Well,
keeping an eye?
we did a few different things. One training camp in West Virginia, we spent some time with the Navy SEALs, and then we had a group go to, I think, Virginia Beach, and kind of do some information exchange. And those guys obviously, are ahead of all those curves. And, whether it's the sleep tanks, the float tanks, the cryo, all of that stuff. And it's gradually made its way to our league. So a lot of it, I think, took place there, and when we spent time with them. And ultimately, once you had the data that said it's science-based, then it's easier to make a purchase when it's going to, help keep your players on the field. One more question.
Traits-wise, what do you like about Demontre Jacobs, and when a backup offensive lineman might not be in the kicking game, how do you start to make those decisions about the back part of the roster?
Well, it's all these other periods. You know, it's what you saw. It's the 9-on-7. It's the team run. It's the team drop back, screen and draw. You know, we met. The players were off on Sunday. We met for 2.5 hours and discussed every player on the roster. We talked about the vision, where they're at, and so we'll have those meetings twice a week. But I think the body of work that you have on tape is what you got to look at.
And with Demontre specifically, what do you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, he, number one, he's competing, and there's a toughness with him. We'll see how it goes. You know, I think he understands what to do. Now, you know, it's like taking the technique and applying it from the film room out onto the field. All right, thanks.